Matt, how much time do you spend qualifying buyers?
Kevin, we spend quite a lot of time going and digging deep with really what the needs are of the buyer. I think so much time's wasted with taking people to inspections that haven't got their finance arranged, not even really sure what they want to buy. So we do spend a lot of time with these buyers. I've got a couple of buyer managers within my team that go and deal with those buyers directly, so they'll follow up from the open home, find out what they're looking for, whether they've got their finance approved. We've got in-house finance brokers, which we can send the details across to. They'll come back to us and say, yeah, look, they're ready to purchase. And just simply asking the question, are you ready to buy?
So how many questions would you go through to get that qualifying process right?
First and foremost, we ask, did you like the property? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? And then we just ask the question, okay, well, and I think this is the most relative question, which a lot of agents don't ask, is, okay, well, do you want to buy it?
What sort of dialogue do you use to get people to commit to that buying process, Matt?
So I think what buyers really want to know is, one, that the owners are committed to sell it, and two, that it's going to represent good value. So what we do, we spend a lot of time with buyers educating. So at all of my open for inspections, I'll hand out a recent list of comparable sales. We send the buyers through. Even recently, when stock's been quite tight and we've wanted to process our stock a little quicker, I take buyers, all the hot buyers in our car, drive them around, show them the sales, show them the difference between the properties, and try and justify the value of the property. So once they're there and they've made a decision on that's the property that they want, it's just trying to represent that property is good value.
How do you do that?
Well,
because a lot of your properties are auction properties.
A lot of them are auction.
Yeah, so how do you demonstrate that when you can't talk price?
Recent sales. We sort of throw in 5 or 6 or 7 maybe recent sales, a couple that are higher, a couple that are lower, and then just sell the motivation that the seller's really committed to sell it, that they're moving on to something else, or tell the story of what they want. But with all the properties that we have at the moment, there is a genuine story behind these people. We don't take on unrealistic sellers. So a lot of the people that go to auction and spend big money on marketing in our marketplace are committed sellers. So we just keep telling that story, and I think it's easy for the buyers to commit then.
So when you get a buyer to auction, they've got an understanding about the value in their mind that you may have helped them, guide them to that.
Sure.
You get to the point where you maybe need another $10,000 out of them on the floor. What's the dialogue you use there?
Well, there's one thing. Say, for example, if we have a reserve of, say, $1 million, and we've got the buyer at 990 and no one else is bidding, what I'll do is I'll go and talk to the buyer, to the highest bidder, and say, look, you're the highest bidder at the moment. Unfortunately, it's not enough to get the property on the market. Can I ask you a question? Would you pay 1.2?
So you go over the reserve?
Go well over. So it's far easier to ask for more and to get a little increase than to ask for what you want and then not increase at all. So we generally go over and then step them down. So we say 1.2, they generally say go away. We go, okay, well, surely to God you'd see value at 115. They say no, and it's like, well, how close to that can you get? And sometimes they might say, okay, well, we'll give you 1.1 if you go away, or we'll give you $1 million, and then that sort of bridges that gap.
Got the deal done.
Yeah.
So at what point do you go back to the seller and get them to try and bring the reserve down?
Well, usually we try and smash the seller's expectation first. We try and negotiate the price above their reserve and then go back to them. We'll never disclose a reserve to a buyer, or unless it's on the market, and we usually try and, whatever the seller wants, it's not our job to get them what they want. It's our job to get them as much as we possibly can in the market and smash their expectations. So we generally, even if we're going in an auction forum, we're over the reserve, well, we'll disclose it's on the market when it's in the best interest for the seller.
Matt, when we have a buyer's market, how do you get the buyer to commit? Because they're convinced that they're the ones who've got the power.
Yeah, sure. Well, at the moment, thankfully, we're in a bit of a seller's market in our marketplace, and there's not much stock. But in a buyer's market, realistically, to differentiate yourself and your product and your property that you're selling to the rest of the market, is you've just got to show that it represents great value. One other thing we sort of try and tap into is that it's the right lifestyle for them, that it's going to sit well for what they want, and you just have to do that through the qualification process. I think at the end of the day, if there's 50 properties on the market and only 5 or 6 buyers in there, realistically it's going to be the value that it comes down to. Yeah. So it's promoting that it represents really good value, and I think persistence. I think the deal dies when the agent gives up, and if a but agents in those sorts of marketplaces are so destined on showing a buyer one property, and then as soon as they say, oh, I didn't like that house because of that reason, they'll just take that buyer to the next property, and they'll just give them too many choices. Our job as agents is to sell, and to sell that property and exhaust every single opportunity we can in relation to whatever the objections are with the property, and to overcome them. So I think overcoming every objection that they have and presenting that it represents good value, I think that's the only way.
Hello and welcome to the show as we look at the auction results over the last week with Geoff White from CoreLogic. And the headline is that, while the election may be over, we knew the results last night. Prior to that, one Sydney buyer went in with a lot of courage. We'll tell you about that when we get to the Sydney sales. Geoff White with me in just a moment.
Did you know you can save up to 70% on your staff costs by outsourcing the low-value, repeatable tasks so your team can focus on growing your business? Beepo is an outsourcing provider focused on the real estate industry. With an English-speaking, tertiary qualified and fully trained team in the Philippines, Beepo will give your business the boost it needs to start growing and returning value to you. For more information, visit beepo.com.au.
Hi, Geoff. Geoff White from CoreLogic. How you doing, mate?
Oh, very good, Kevin. How are you?
Good. You stay up late on Saturday night to watch the results?
I did. I was a result I wasn't tipping, I can assure you.
Yeah, so, not many people were, mate, and I think there's a lot of discussion about polls right now too, as to how accurate they are.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, they were so far wrong, even on the night. They were still, 52 to 48 in favour of the ALP. I mean, I just, you just wonder. There's still a lot of those postal and early polling votes to be counted, but a very good result, and congratulations to Scott Morrison and his team.
And I guess we'll get to the results in just a moment, but of course the Real Estate Institute of Australia, many of the institutes around Australia in fact came out with a very heavy campaign educating people about what would happen in the likely event that Labor won. And I guess they'd be feeling quite victorious about that right now, because it obviously resonated with the Australian population.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the continual use of the language like the top end of town by Shorten, assuming that an investor that can go and buy a property or two, who, as you know, are not the top end of town in most cases, I think that sort of didn't resonate too well with the community, and I think, it was a policy, very brave policy on the part of the ALP, and I think that one might be dead and buried for quite some time now.
Yeah, well, it probably is, and I think when you think about it, franking credits and negative gearing impacting a lot of people who, that's where their retirement funds are. And when you start attacking that, and there's a huge population growth coming through of those people who will be relying on that to help them retire. So it really was a crazy move.
Yeah, that's right. I think so too. But I just thought he might have had, the people thinking, oh, well, let's just change for the sake of change. And that often happens, I find. People just want to change and they vote the other way, and it seems not this time around. So,
well, what it says to me is that the Australian public are a lot more educated than we give them credit for, Geoff.
Exactly.
Anyway, enough politics. Let's get off that. Let's get to the real results, and they are pretty good, actually. Low numbers across the country as we bring up the preliminary auction clearance rates, 57% the weighted average, you're saying, Geoff?
Yeah, 57%, that's right, from 917 auctions. Down on numbers as we forecast, but a pretty good weighted average nationally, and I think very much propped up by a very good performance by Melbourne with 62.9% preliminary from 427 auctions, and Sydney's 60.7 from 270 auctions. So those two capitals would have dragged the weighted average up a bit, but going down there, Brisbane's still pretty reasonable at 38.6. Still in that ballpark.
It'll be 100% next week.
Oh, I know. Yes, that's right. We'll be focusing on one in particular, and 75 auctions there. Adelaide. Adelaide's actually one to watch. I just don't know what's happening in Adelaide, to be honest. It was very consistently around the 50s, some weeks ago, and on preliminary numbers, 44 from 81. So let's just keep a watching eye on that one over the next few weeks.
Employment in Adelaide's been a bit of a worry for some time, hasn't it? And maybe this could be the tail of the dog. I don't know.
I think you could be right. I think that's right, and I think Melbourne and Sydney have probably gone ahead under the new wave. Improvements in the market, and maybe Adelaide's just catching up. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, maybe some Adelaide agents. I know we have a lot of agents who watch us in Adelaide on this show. If you've got any thoughts or comments on that, would love to hear them. Just send them in through the show, or just send me an email direct. We'd love to have your feedback.
Well, we know that 81 auctions in Adelaide's only a small proportion of the market, but anyway, it's just an interesting statistic. But the one that stood off the page this week as a preliminary was Canberra with 32 auctions, but 56%, so back into the 50s in Canberra, and that's good to see from a Canberra point of view. Yeah,
indeed. Okay, we'll take you to the Sydney sub-regions. Wow, mate, have a look at eastern suburbs. They're low numbers, not really big numbers, but still 92% is 93% is almost perfect.
Yeah, that's right. It's fantastic, isn't it, to see such a high clearance rate. It's interesting looking along these sub-regions in Sydney. The percentages vary a lot.
They do.
I know there's some, where we haven't collected sufficient auction numbers to call a clearance rate, but when you've got some in the 40s, right through the 50s, right up to the 92.9 in eastern suburbs, it's a very, very broad market, and a bit of an odd weekend too. So we won't draw too much into it, but the mainstay sub-regions are North Sydney, Hornsby, 31 auctions with 65%, very good there. And northern Beaches, 77.8% from 25. So a very good, strong market there also. So a good result. But I don't know. I'd have to go back in our records to see whether eastern suburbs has had 92.9 and when the last time was.
Well, that'd be good, mate. Maybe let us know on Friday with our wrap. We'll see what that comes back to. How many? That's on the back of 24 auctions.
24. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll have a look at that. Mate, let's have a look at the Sydney sale. This one is very, very interesting. 4 blocks side by side, 14 to 20 Bayview Road at Canada Bay. $4,370,000. This one is prime for redevelopment. It says permission on the site. Don't know whether that means a DA or a BA, but 7 properties, 3 duplexes and 1 freestanding residence. This one was sold by Dib Chidiak and Paul Caradonna.
Yeah, I checked through the CoreLogic records, and it would appear that it could have been the same owner that owned the 4 properties.
Yeah.
One parcel there being offered. So based on that sale result, I think I calculated about $1,671 per square metre. And a very a terrific parcel of land with lots of potential, as the agent is saying. The position here obviously is very, very good. It not far. You can see in the aerial shot that the agent had on his website. You can see the city in the background. Obviously, water not too far away, and golf courses and things like that. So this will be one that'll be totally transformed, I would suggest, into something that fully utilises the sites, and there'll be lovely new homes there, I would suggest, not too far away.
Yeah, the buyer's probably rubbing his hands together now after the election result last night as well, saying, well, I took the punt and it was good.
Yeah, well, I think the nervousness in the market as to what the potential could have been to house prices if the ALP had been elected. It wasn't certain that prices were going to go down in the long term, or accelerate the downward growth, but that was a concern, and I think it'll give some surety to these sorts of buyers to press on with their developments and do what they have to do. Yeah.
Okay, take you to Melbourne, and we'll have a look at the sub-regional results here. Yeah, some pretty good numbers in there. Look at the Outer East at 84% as well, even Northeast at 71 or 72%.
Yeah,
Inner
exactly.
East? Yeah.
Yeah, Outer East, 84 from 31. Now, the Outer East of Melbourne can be quite volatile. It can be, right down to 50, and in some cases we've seen a little bit lower. But that's really the bread and butter areas of Melbourne. lot of anything from first home buyers to other types of buyers, long-standing property holdings. So it's a good clearance rate. Yes, northeast 71.8 from 41, terrific there. We focused on the inner sub-region last week where it was under 50, and we saw the reason for that being the high number of passings of units. This time around 68.2 from 84. So a week is a long time in real estate, and it can change dramatically. Inner East, of course, has been one I focus on because I think it's a good yardstick. It's 72.6 from 57. So some very much higher ones there. Hence the preliminary clearance rate in Melbourne being up a bit this week.
And the top sale out of Melbourne was a delightful 4-bedroom brick home in Brighton. Great location, just a little over a block from Brighton Beach. This one appears to me to be just waiting for a bit of an upgrade. Nice location, $2,969,500. Nick Johnson Real Estate, Joe Doyle and Nick Johnston selling this one, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah, well done to Joe and Nick. Very professional agents there. This particular property being tightly held, one family, 56 years. You can see some of the original features in the home, the timber, the floors, the features of the era. It's 660 square metres, but undoubtedly this is positioned here, Church Street, Brighton, walking distance, not far from Dandy Street, the beach, all the features there that you'd want. Church Street is the main shopping precinct in Brighton, and very well regarded. So this one would have been, at this level because of its location, no doubt. So well done to the boys at Nick Johnson.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, top Brisbane sale. This one ticks all the boxes in Brisbane's sweet spot right now. On the north side, tick. 3 bedrooms, tick. 2 bathrooms, tick. And renovated, tick. That sounds like another property is going to go to auction next week. We'll talk more about that one later. Congratulations to Harcourts at Clayfield. Blatant plug there. 83 Colleen Street in Nunda, $890,000. Keith Marn and Sharisi Morley. I hope I pronounced that correctly. This one is the sweet spot. This is really, it's a great location too, backing onto a park there, I notice.
Yeah, a cul-de-sac location, a Queenslander home, but amazing renovation here. If you just go through it, and the way that the agent has presented this online is a real credit to them. It's just not a stone left unturned here. It is fantastic inside. Presentation makes a big difference, as we know, when selling real estate. This is no doubt that. But as you say, the position is first class there. And, this one provides a lot of accommodation, a huge block, but a very good-sized block of 521 square metres. It's, you can put a pool in the back if you wanted to. All that car accommodation under the house. Everything you'd want there, Kevin. So this is a great one, and congratulations to Harcourts for Clayfield.
Keith, yeah, well done, mate. Okay, let's go to Adelaide now, and top sale out of Adelaide, $910,000. This one was sold not prior. This one was sold on the day, but on the Thursday, the 16th. So more than likely an in-room auction, I would think, Geoff.
Say so. Yeah, I think it might have been dark at that time. Otherwise, yes.
Yeah. Oh, what time was it?
It was 6 p.m, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah. It would have been, no doubt. Yeah. Ray White Group selling this one. Brandon Pilgrim and Leon Yan, 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 cars, 671 square metres, built in 1962, nicely restored, this one. And they've added what looks to me to be some really nice outdoor living areas at 63 High Street, Burnside.
Yeah, this is obviously a house that's had some possible extension over the years as well, and does have that outdoor area. That deck out the back there, it's elevated at the back, so you get a reasonable outlook. And it offers, a lot of rooms. If you look at the floor plan, there's, a lot of rooms in this one, and, right from bedrooms to family to living rooms to informal meals areas. There's, that deck area, as I said. So there's a lot of accommodation in this home. It's a very wide home, so it has good frontage. With plenty of good street appeal, and a terrific result. And it just shows that houses that might not necessarily be absolute state of the art on the outside, but in good condition.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
But have the facilities inside, all the amenities you want and the accommodation you want, still bring good dollars. And this is a home that has enjoyed obviously a very good long family accommodation there for a long time.
It's what you look for in real estate, and I know you've been selling real estate for many, many years, Geoff, but any house with good bones that's been well looked after, and you can tell that these properties we're talking about now have been well looked after. That's really what if you get a good location, nice position, and then you've got a house that's fairly solid and been well looked after, you're really ticking all the boxes.
That's right. Stood the test of time, Kevin, and this one built around 1962. But, you're exactly right. Yep.
Now, we're sort of, the election's behind us now, no real excuses, we can just forge ahead. I would imagine in terms of auction numbers, even if we see a surge in listings, we're not going to see it coming through for about 3 or 4 weeks. But what's your tip for this weekend? Do you think some people have held back to see, or will it be much the same, do you think?
In terms of numbers, Kevin, I think the numbers will definitely rise. We're anticipating a significant jump in Melbourne. I'm across that, and some of the other capitals as well. There will be more auctions this weekend. Have we seen maybe the clearance rates rise because the auction volumes have been down? Possibly. But I also think that there will be some amount of renewed confidence in the market. Where buyers and sellers know that things basically in the real estate space are not going to change by government policy, and we can now get on with it. We're now clearly talking about an interest rate reduction. The RBA has signalled possibly that next month, a 0.25. So there's a lot of good news for home buyers and sellers coming up, and when you're starting to see the clearance rates in Melbourne and Sydney in particular, where there's higher volumes starting to creep into that high 50s, into the 60s, I think you're starting to see a significant change in the market. So if buyers are out there and contemplating buying, I think really get on with it and stick your hand up at an auction if the house suits your requirements. Yeah,
the comment there about the RBA possibly raising rates, we should always remember that when that does happen, it's a sign that the economy is doing fairly well. It's when they don't, or when they drop them, that we're in some kind of pending trouble.
Yeah, sorry, did I say raise rates? I meant that the RBA reducing rates. Kevin.
Will they? Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're talking about a reduction in rates.
I hadn't picked up on that, Geoff. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, that's right. So,
what's driving that? Do you think, Geoff?
Look, I think it's reactive to some economic indicators. I think unemployment has risen just by 0.2. And there's a bit of concern out there that, it needs a bit of stimulus, I think. I'm sorry, I did mean to say...
You may very well have done that, Geoff. I don't know. We'll go back and check. But
that will definitely mean to home buyers, if the banks pass it on, of course, more opportunity to go out there and have a bit of confidence that... the affordability aspect is probably at its best for a long, long time now, given the low rates and the way the market's gone in the last 12 or 18 months. So, yeah. So I think it speaks pretty good for you, Kevin. And if you're crystal balling, you were confronted with that decision before, week of or week after election, and I think... you probably picked the right one out of the three. To be honest.
The reason I did that, Geoff, was that I just figured that there would be uncertainty, and I thought, well, if we go after the election, doesn't matter who wins, at least there's some certainty in the market and we know where we're headed. So that's the reason, really, we did choose 1 week. It could have been 2 weeks, but that's just the way it went. So. And all the reports back from the agents are that it's good. It seems to be right in the market, and we're getting really good numbers. We've had about 60 odd groups through, between 60 and 70 groups through. So, pretty confident. So anyway, we'll talk more about it on Friday.
Yes, that's right, Kevin. So no, that's good. All well, and it's been a busy week, and I think it's onwards and upwards now, and off we go towards the winter periods now, so without too much interruption now too. So the market gets a bit of a free run for a while.
Yeah, well, that'll be good to see. Hey, Geoff, have a great week, my friend. Look forward to talking to you on Friday when we'll give you a full wrap on the week ahead and the final results from the week that's just gone. Thanks for your time, Geoff, and have a great week.
All the best. Thanks, Kevin.
Evening, Clara. Home, please.
David, what's on your mind?
I was just thinking of a different time is all. It was a time when I used to sit up there, you know. Driving wasn't just about being taken from place to place, but going somewhere. Feeling something along the way.
Please, David, you should relax.
I'm afraid that's just the problem.
David, where are you going? David? David?